I was wrong about my daughter-in-law, and I don't mean that in the way you'd expect from a father-in-law who never quite warmed to his son's choice. I mean wrong in the way that keeps you up at night, replaying every conversation, every dinner, every holiday, searching for the moment you should have known. For 65 years, I've trusted my instincts. 38 years as a veterinarian in Denver taught me to read animals, and animals don't lie like people do. But when it comes to family, you see what you want to see. You ignore the warning signs. You make excuses, until a 26-year-old paralegal risks her job to grab your elbow in a hallway and whisper 3 words that blow your world apart. It started on a Thursday in late September. My son Michael called from his office downtown. The call itself wasn't unusual. We spoke every week, usually about the Broncos or whether I needed anything from Costco. What was unusual was the excitement in his voice. Since my wife Rebecca died 2 years ago from pancreatic cancer, Michael had been careful with me, gentle, like I might break if he spoke too loud or moved too fast. Dad, Ashley and I want to take you to this estate planning seminar on Saturday. Her firm is hosting it at the Hilton in Cherry Creek. Free lunch, expert speakers, the whole 9 yards. You know, just to make sure everything's buttoned up with your will and the house and all that. My stomach tightened. Rebecca and I had done our estate planning 15 years ago. Everything was in order. The house in Highlands, the retirement accounts, the small inheritance from her parents. All of it documented and filed away in the fireproof safe in our basement. But Michael sounded so earnest, and I hadn't spent real time with him and Ashley in months. Since Rebecca's funeral, actually. They'd been busy. New development project in Stapleton. Ashley's law practice expanding. Always something. What time? I asked. 10 o'clock. We'll pick you up at 9:30. Ashley's really excited about this, Dad. She thinks it's important for you to understand all your options, especially now that you're alone. That phrase, alone. It landed like a stone in my chest. I wasn't alone. I had the house Rebecca and I bought in 1991. I had her garden she'd spent 30 years cultivating. I had her bird feeders that I filled every Sunday, like she'd taught me. Cardinals, finches, chickadees. She'd kept meticulous journals about every species that visited our yard. Said watching birds taught her patience, taught her to notice the small things. Those journals were still on the shelf in her study, untouched because I couldn't bear to open them yet. All right, I said. 9:30 Saturday. The call ended and I sat in Rebecca's armchair, the one by the window where she'd watched her birds every morning with coffee. Something felt off, but I couldn't name it. Michael was a good son, successful. He'd built his real estate development company from nothing. Ashley was a corporate attorney. They lived in a sprawling modern house in Cherry Creek that always felt cold to me, all glass and concrete and sharp edges. But they were doing well. They didn't need my money. Hell, they made more in a year than I'd made in 5. Still, that tightness in my stomach wouldn't leave. Saturday morning arrived with that crisp Colorado autumn air that makes everything feel possible. Michael pulled up in his Tesla at exactly 9:30. Ashley was in the passenger seat, blonde hair perfect, designer sunglasses, smile bright enough to sell toothpaste. She'd always been beautiful in that calculated way. Nothing out of place. Nothing left to chance. "Hi, Dad," Michael said as I climbed into the back seat. "You're looking good. Been eating okay?" "I'm 65, not 95. I still know how to operate a stove." Ashley laughed, but it sounded rehearsed. "I just think it's wonderful that you're taking this step, Richard. So many people avoid estate planning, and then their families are left with such a mess. Rebecca would be proud of you for being proactive." The mention of Rebecca's name in Ashley's mouth felt wrong, like watching someone wear your wife's clothes without permission. But I smiled and nodded because that's what you do. You keep the peace. The Hilton was buzzing when we arrived. Conference room B was set up with round tables, each seating 8 people, a PowerPoint screen at the front, coffee station in the corner with those sad continental breakfast pastries. I counted maybe 40 people, most of them my age or older. Gray hair, comfortable shoes, that look of people who'd worked their whole lives and were now trying to figure out how to protect what they'd built. Ashley steered me to a table near the front. Michael went to grab coffee. A couple already sat there. Frank and Doris, both probably in their 70s. From Arvada, their daughter had brought them. She looked about Ashley's age. Same polished appearance, same tight smile. The seminar started at 10 sharp. A man in an expensive suit introduced himself as Christopher Dalton, senior estate planning attorney with Dalton and Associates. He had that smooth way of talking that made everything sound both urgent and simple. Your loved ones deserve protection. Your assets deserve preservation. Colorado estate laws are complex. Probate can take years and cost thousands. 30 minutes in, he pivoted to something called a living trust, explaining how it could protect assets from probate, from nursing home costs, from creditors, how it gave you control even after death. It all sounded reasonable, logical. Rebecca and I had talked about trusts once, but our estate attorney said we didn't really need one. Our estate wasn't big enough to justify the cost. But Christopher Dalton made it sound like we'd been idiots, like everyone needed a living trust, like anything less was financial malpractice. During the break, Ashley appeared at my elbow with a plate of fruit and a Danish. You should really talk to Chris after this. Michael and I already set up an appointment for you, one-on-one consultation, just to review your options. I don't remember agreeing to that. Her smile never wavered. Dad, it's free. What's the harm in getting a second opinion? Rebecca would want you to have the best protection possible. There it was again. Rebecca's name is a weapon. The second half of the seminar was more technical. Durable power of attorney, healthcare directives, something called a pour-over will. My head was spinning. I'd been a veterinarian, not a lawyer. This wasn't my language. But everyone else seemed to be nodding along, taking notes, asking questions. Then Christopher Dalton said something that made my blood run cold. And of course, we have a notary on staff today for anyone who'd like to get started immediately. We can help you execute these documents right here, right now. No need to wait. No need to involve outside attorneys who might charge you thousands for the same service we're providing for a fraction of the cost. I glanced at Ashley. She was already looking at me, eyebrows raised hopefully. The consultation was in a smaller conference room down the hall. Christopher Dalton sat across from me with a leather portfolio. Ashley sat to my left, Michael to my right. Like I was being flanked. Christopher pulled out a stack of papers, maybe 50 pages thick, tabs marking signature lines, everything pre-filled. My name, my address, Rebecca's name listed as deceased, the house appraised at $780,000, my retirement accounts totaling $650,000. Everything I owned, laid out in black and white. How did you know all this? I asked. Ashley's smile was practiced. We just want to make sure we had accurate information for the consultation, Dad, to give you the best advice. But where did you get these numbers? Michael shifted uncomfortably. You mentioned them over the years, Dad. The house value, the retirement. It's not exact, just ballpark. It was exact, down to the dollar on the retirement accounts. Christopher launched into his pitch. With a living trust, your assets would be protected. No probate, no delays. And if you named Michael and Ashley as successor trustees, they could manage everything if you became incapacitated. Smooth transition. No court involvement. No vulnerability. I stared at the papers. Something was screaming in my head, but I couldn't hear it clearly through the fog of technical language and pressure and Michael's hopeful face. I need to think about this. Christopher's smile tightened. Of course, but I should mention, we're running a special this weekend only. Normally this package costs $7,500. Today, for seminar attendees, it's $3,500. But only if you execute today. Ashley leaned in. Dad, this is an incredible deal. Michael and I looked into this last year. We paid almost $10,000 for ours. I'll need to review this with my own attorney. The room went quiet. Christopher's smile disappeared entirely. Ashley's jaw tightened. Michael looked at the floor. Mr. Carstairs, I understand your hesitation, but I have to ask, do you really want to pay another attorney $5,000 to tell you the same thing I'm telling you right now? This is standard documentation. There's nothing unusual here. Then it won't matter if I take my time. Christopher closed his portfolio with a snap. Of course. Take all the time you need. But please understand, this pricing is only available today, and the notary is only here until 4 o'clock. I stood up. I need some air. Dad, wait. Michael reached for my arm, but I was already moving. Out of the conference room, down the hallway toward the lobby. The walls felt like they were closing in. My heart was hammering. This was insane. Michael would never. Ashley would never. But they already had. Mr. Carstairs? I turned. A young woman, mid-20s, stood near the elevator. She wore a gray skirt, suit, and carried a stack of folders. Name tag, said Amanda Reeves. Paralegal. Yes? She glanced down the hallway toward the conference rooms, then stepped closer. Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Please don't sign anything today. My throat went dry. What? I work here. I process these documents. Her eyes darted nervously. This is the 4th seminar this month. Same pattern every time. Adult children bring elderly parents. High-pressure consultation. Pre-filled documents. They push for immediate execution. I don't understand. Those documents you were just shown, they don't just create a trust. Pages 32 through 37 transfer all your assets into that trust immediately. And pages 41 through 44 grant your son and daughter-in-law full power of attorney, financial and healthcare, effective the moment you sign. That can't be right. Michael wouldn't. Amanda's face was pained. I don't know your family. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe your son is different. But I've seen 6 families come through here in the last 2 months. All of them signed. Within a week, their adult children were refinancing their houses, draining bank accounts, moving assets. By the time the parents realized what they'd signed, it was too late. Why are you telling me this? Because my grandmother, she went through this with my aunt 2 years ago. Different firm, same playbook. Graham lost her house, lost everything. She lives with my mom now in a studio apartment. She used to have a 4-bedroom in Boulder. I leaned against the wall. The hallway was spinning. Where's your bathroom? Down that hall. To the right. Mr. Carstairs, please. Just walk out. Tell them you're not feeling well. Go home. Read those documents with a lawyer you choose, not one they provide. If it's legitimate, the deal will still be there next week. But Michael, Amanda's voice was gentle but firm. Maybe Michael doesn't know. Maybe his wife is driving this. Maybe they're both in debt and desperate. I don't know. But I know what I've seen. And this has all the warning signs. She pressed a business card into my hand. That's my cell. If you need a witness, if you need someone to verify what I just told you, call me. I'll lose my job, but I'll do it. Then she walked away, heels clicking on the marble floor, back to processing documents that would ruin lives. I made it to the bathroom and locked myself in a stall. My hands were shaking. This couldn't be real. Michael was my son, my only child. The boy I'd taught to throw a baseball, to change a tire, to treat every living thing with respect because life was precious and brief. He'd cried at his mother's funeral like his heart was being ripped out. We'd held each other and promised to stay close, to honor Rebecca's memory, to be there for each other. But then I remembered how Ashley had started asking questions after the funeral, casual questions. How much was the house worth now? Had I thought about downsizing? What was my monthly budget? Did I have long-term care insurance? At the time, I'd thought she was being thoughtful, making sure I was okay financially after losing my wife. What if she'd been calculating? My phone buzzed. Michael, where are you? You okay? I couldn't answer him. Not yet. Not until I knew what was real. Instead, I walked out the back exit of the hotel, called an Uber on my phone with shaking hands. The driver didn't ask why a 65-year-old man was sneaking out of a Hilton looking like he'd seen a ghost. He just drove me home to Highlands, while I stared out the window at the autumn leaves and tried to remember how to breathe. The house felt empty when I walked in. Rebecca's absence was always present, but today it was suffocating. I went straight to her study. The room I'd barely entered since she died because it still smelled like her lavender hand lotion and the mint tea she drank constantly. Her bird journals lined the shelf above her desk. 37 years of observations. She'd started keeping them our first year of marriage. Black and white composition notebooks, the cheap kind from CVS, because Rebecca believed in function over form. Each one labeled with a year: 1986, 1987, 1988, all the way to 2023. I pulled down 2023, her last year. The handwriting was shakier toward the end, when the cancer made her hands tremble. But it was still her voice, still her careful documentation of which birds came when, what they ate, how they behaved. Then I saw it. An entry from August, 2 months before she died. Ashley visited today while Michael was at work. Asked if I'd thought about what would happen to the house after I'm gone. Said it would be such a burden for Richard to maintain alone. Suggested I talk to Richard about selling, about moving somewhere smaller, more manageable. Said she knew a great real estate agent. I told her the house stays with Richard as long as he wants it. She smiled, but her eyes didn't. I've seen that look before, on a magpie once, eyeing another bird's nest, calculating, patient, waiting for the right moment to strike. Note to self: talk to Richard about updating the deed. Make sure the house is protected. Ashley is a lawyer. She'll know loopholes. My hand started shaking so hard, I almost dropped the journal. I flipped forward. More entries. September. Ashley asking about Richard's retirement accounts. How much, where they're invested, who the beneficiaries are. Framing it as concern. Michael and I just want to make sure Dad is set up correctly. But why does she need to know? What is she planning? October. Ashley mentioned a financial advisor friend who specializes in elder care planning. Said we should talk to them. I said we have our own advisor. She pushed. Said this person is better, more specialized. Red flag. My phone buzzed. Michael again. Dad, please call me. You're worrying me. We just want to help. I kept reading. November, December, January. Rebecca had been tracking this, documenting Ashley's probing questions, her suggestions, her slow and careful mapping of our finances. And Rebecca had done something about it. February. Saw a state attorney today, without telling Richard. Don't want to worry him while I'm fighting this cancer. But I need to protect him from what's coming. Change the house deed to tenancy by the entirety, with rights of survivorship provisions that can't be changed without Richard's direct consent in person at the county office. Added him as sole beneficiary on all accounts, with transfer on death instructions. Created a secret safety deposit box at Wells Fargo with copies of everything and instructions for David Chen at the vet clinic. If something happens to me and Richard seems confused or pressured, David knows to intervene. David Chen, my former partner at the veterinary clinic, Rebecca's close friend. I grabbed my phone and called him. Richard, I was wondering when you'd call, David said. His voice was heavy. You knew? Rebecca asked me to keep an eye on you. Said if anyone started pressuring you about money or property after she passed, especially Michael's wife, I should step in. She left me a package at the bank, legal documents, instructions. She was very specific. Why didn't you tell me? Because she made me promise not to unless you were in immediate danger. She didn't want you to think she didn't trust Michael, she said. David's voice cracked. She said watching you lose faith in your son would hurt worse than the cancer. I sat down heavily in Rebecca's chair. He called me today, Michael. Took me to a seminar, estate planning. They tried to get me to sign over everything. Jesus, Richard, where are you now? Home. I left. I didn't sign anything. Okay, good. Don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. I'm coming over, and I'm bringing Rebecca's package from the bank. You need to see what she left you. David arrived 20 minutes later with a large manila envelope. Inside were copies of updated deeds, beneficiary forms, and a letter in Rebecca's handwriting. The letter was dated 3 weeks before she died. My dearest Richard, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and someone is trying to take advantage of you. Probably Ashley, possibly with Michael's knowledge. I pray I'm wrong. I pray this letter sits in David's desk drawer forever, unread. But I've watched her for 3 years now, and I know what I see. Ashley is drowning in debt. Her law firm is struggling. Michael's development company has loans on top of loans. I found out by accident. Saw some papers on Michael's desk during last Christmas. He'd deny it if you asked. Pride. Your pride, actually. He gets that from you. They need money. A lot of it. And you're the easiest target. Widowed. Grieving. Trusting. You'll believe whatever Michael tells you because he's your son and you love him. But love doesn't mean ignorance. Love means protecting yourself so they can't destroy themselves, trying to save themselves at your expense. I've done what I can legally. The house is protected. The money is protected. But they'll try anyway. They'll use fancy terms, legal documents, pressure tactics. They'll make you feel stupid for hesitating, paranoid for questioning, selfish for protecting what we built together. Don't let them. This house is yours. Your security, your home, our home. I won't let anyone take that from you. Not even our son. And Michael, God, Richard, I love that boy. But he married someone who sees people as assets, who measures relationships in dollar signs. I've tried to talk to him about it, gently, over the years. He doesn't want to hear it. He loves her. Or he's afraid to admit he made a mistake. Either way, he's in too deep to see clearly. Protect yourself, even from him, especially from him. And when this is over, when the dust settles and the truth comes out, if Michael comes back to you, broken and ashamed, and asking for forgiveness, I hope you'll find it in your heart to forgive him. Not right away, not easily, but eventually, because parents forgive. That's what we do. That's what makes us different from magpies. I love you. I loved our life. I love our son, even as I'm trying to protect you from him. Watch the birds for me. They'll teach you patience. All my love, Rebecca. I couldn't read the last paragraph through my tears. David sat quietly, letting me cry. My phone rang. Not Michael this time. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. Mr. Carstairs? This is Detective Lisa Monroe with the Denver Police Department Financial Crimes Unit. Amanda Reeves contacted me this afternoon. I understand you were at an estate planning seminar today at the Cherry Creek Hilton. Yes, I managed. Mr. Carstairs, we've been investigating Dalton and Associates for 6 months. We believe they're running an elder fraud scheme in partnership with certain individuals who recruit family members as targets. These recruiters receive a percentage of assets transferred. We're trying to build a case, but it's complicated because the documents are technically legal. The fraud is in the deception and pressure tactics. My son, my voice broke. My daughter-in-law, are they being investigated? I can't confirm ongoing investigations, but I can tell you that we've tracked multiple cases where family members brought elderly relatives to these seminars. In every case, the family members had significant debts, credit cards, business loans, mortgages they couldn't pay. They were desperate. My chest felt tight. How many victims? 23 that we know of. Total losses around $8 million. Some lost their homes, some lost their entire retirement. Most were too ashamed to report it because the theft was committed by their own children. What do you need from me? If you're willing, we'd like you to wear a wire. Contact your son, tell him you've reconsidered, that you want to sign the documents. Get him to talk about why he brought you there, about his financial situation, about Ashley's involvement. If we can prove intent to defraud, if we can show they knew what they were doing, we can charge them with felony theft and elder abuse. You want me to trap my own son. I want to stop them before they destroy someone else's family, Detective Monroe said gently. Right now, your son and daughter-in-law are facing fraud charges based on what we already have. But if we can prove conspiracy, if we can connect them to Dalton's operation, we can get justice for all 23 families. We can maybe get restitution. It won't be everything, but it's something. I looked at Rebecca's letter, at David's worried face, at the bird journals on the shelf, at the life Rebecca and I had built that someone was trying to steal. When? I asked. Tomorrow. Call him tonight. Tell him you changed your mind. He'll come to you. They always do when they think they've won. That night, I sat in Rebecca's chair and didn't sleep. I watched the moon move across the sky. I watched the early birds arrive at the feeders at dawn. Cardinals, Rebecca's favorites. She used to say cardinals mated for life, that you'd always see them in pairs, that they taught us about loyalty. But what about when loyalty becomes complicity? What about when protecting someone means letting them hurt others? At 7 a.m., I called Michael. Son, I'm sorry about yesterday. I panicked. I've been thinking about what you and Ashley said, about protecting the house, about making things easier. Maybe you're right. Maybe I do need to update things. His relief was palpable. Dad, it's okay. I understand. This stuff is overwhelming. But I'm glad you're willing to look at it again. The offer is still good through Monday. Want me to come by today? We can go over everything together. No pressure. Actually, I'd prefer if you came here. Just you and me. Like old times. Sure, Dad. I'll be there at noon. The detective arrived at 10. Fitted me with a wire so small I forgot it was there. Showed me how to guide the conversation. Don't accuse. Just ask questions. Why is this important to him? How did he hear about Dalton? What happens to the money once it's in the trust? Michael arrived at exactly noon with a folder of papers. He hugged me, and for a moment I forgot about the wire, about the detective listening from a van down the street, about the fraud and the pressure and the betrayal. For a moment, he was just my son, my boy. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Rebecca used to make Sunday pancakes, where Michael had done his homework for 12 years, where we'd played cards and eaten takeout and laughed at stupid jokes. So, Dad, Michael started, pulling out papers. I really think this is the right move. The trust will protect you. And honestly, it'll give me peace of mind knowing that if anything happens, I can step in and manage things. Take care of the bills, maintain the house, make sure you're okay. Why would you need to manage things? I'm healthy, sharp as I've ever been. Michael's smile faltered. Of course you are. I just meant, if something changed, if you had an accident or got sick like Mom did, then everything would already be set up. No scrambling, no stress. This trust. The one where you and Ashley become successor trustees. What exactly does that mean? It means if you can't manage your affairs, we can step in, pay bills, make decisions, keep everything running smoothly. And I'd still own everything? Of course. It's your trust, your assets. We'd just be managing them for you. But the papers I saw yesterday, they said you'd be transferring assets into the trust. Doesn't that mean you'd legally own them? Michael's jaw tightened. Dad, that's just legal terminology. The trust is in your name. You control it. We'd only be trustees if you were incapacitated. How much do you owe, Michael? His face went white. What? How much debt are you in? The development company, the house, the loans. Dad, I don't think, because I've been thinking about why you'd bring me to that seminar, why Ashley's been asking about my finances for 2 years, why you're pushing so hard for me to sign over power of attorney to you. Michael stood up. His chair scraped against the floor. You've been talking to someone. Who was it? That paralegal? Did she say something to you? She told me what those documents really do, that they transfer ownership, that they give you full control, that I'd be signing away everything your mother and I built. Dad, that's not. Michael's voice cracked. That's not how it works. We're just trying to help you. How much do you owe? Michael's face crumpled. He sat back down, head in his hands. 200,000. Credit cards, business loans. The Stapleton project fell through. Lost investors. We're drowning. So you thought you'd take my house? My retirement? No. God, no, Dad. Ashley said we were just accessing what would be ours eventually anyway. Just a bridge loan until the next project came through. We were going to pay it back. I swear. There's no paying it back, Michael. If I sign those papers, you own everything. You can do whatever you want. Sell the house, drain the accounts. And I'd have no legal recourse because I'd have signed it all away. Tears were streaming down Michael's face now. I never wanted this. I told Ashley it was wrong. But she kept saying you'd be fine, that you didn't need all that money, that you'd want to help your family. Did Ashley get a commission for bringing me to Dalton? Michael looked up at me, and I saw the answer in his eyes before he said it. 10% of whatever assets were transferred. So this is how it ends. You were going to sell me out for a 10% finder's fee and a chance to pay off your debts. Michael's voice was barely a whisper. I'm so sorry, Dad. I don't know how it got this far. I don't know how I let her convince me. Let her? Michael, you're a grown man. You made a choice. And now 23 other families are gone because people like you made the same choice. His head snapped up. 23? Detective Monroe stepped into the kitchen from the hallway. She'd been listening from the spare room. Michael Carstairs, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit elder fraud, attempted grand theft, and financial exploitation of an at-risk adult. Michael looked at me. At the wire I was wearing. At the detective reading him his rights. At the life he'd just confessed away. Dad, please. I couldn't look at him. Couldn't watch them put handcuffs on my son. I turned to the window, to Rebecca's bird feeders, and watched a pair of cardinals hop from branch to branch. Together, loyal. But sometimes loyalty means letting someone face consequences. Sometimes protecting someone means protecting them from themselves. Ashley was arrested an hour later at her office. Christopher Dalton and 3 other attorneys at his firm were charged with running a criminal enterprise. 23 victims were contacted. Some would get restitution, most wouldn't. But at least it was over. Michael pleaded guilty, testified against Ashley and Dalton. The prosecutor said he was a victim too, in a way. Manipulated by his wife, pressured by his debts, convinced he was doing something morally gray but not criminal. It didn't excuse what he'd done, but it explained it. He got 18 months in minimum security. Ashley got 6 years. Dalton got 12. I visit Michael once a month at the Federal Correctional Institution in Englewood. Sometimes he won't see me, too ashamed. Sometimes he cries. Sometimes he's angry, insisting he was trying to help, that it wasn't supposed to go this way. Sometimes he almost sounds like my son again. I always tell him the same thing Rebecca wrote in her letter, that parents forgive, that I'll forgive him. But he has to do the work. He has to become the man his mother believed he could be, not the man his debts made him. Last week, he actually smiled when I said that. Not a big smile, but real. I'm taking accounting courses, community service programs. When I get out, I want to help people with financial literacy. Maybe I can stop someone else from making my mistakes. Your mother would like that. I still live in the Highlands house. Still fill Rebecca's bird feeders every Sunday. Still sit in her chair by the window and read her journals. I'm up to 1,998 now. The year Michael was 10 and decided he wanted to be a veterinarian, like his dad. Before he changed his mind and went into business. Before he met Ashley. Before the debts and the pressure and the desperate calculations. Sometimes I play the what-if game. What if Rebecca hadn't been vigilant? What if Amanda hadn't warned me? What if I'd signed those papers because I trusted my son more than my instincts? I'd have lost everything. The house, the money, but worse than that, I'd have lost Rebecca's last gift to me, her protection, her love, her understanding that sometimes the hardest part of loving someone is not letting them destroy you while they're destroying themselves. David Chen stops by every Sunday. We watch football, eat takeout, talk about the clinic. He told me Rebecca had made him promise something else, too. That if Michael ever came back after serving his time, if he showed real remorse and real change, I should let him come home. Not to live, but to rebuild. Because that's what parents do. We build. And when our children break what we've built, we teach them how to build again. So the door stays unlocked. The guest room stays ready. And every evening when the cardinals come to feed, I watch them through Rebecca's window and remember what she taught me. Love doesn't mean blindness. Love means seeing clearly and choosing what's right anyway. For them, for you, for everyone. The magpies come sometimes too. Rebecca used to say they were smart birds, problem solvers, opportunists. They'd steal from other nests if they could. But they're just doing what magpies do, surviving. The trick is knowing when you're dealing with a cardinal and when you're dealing with a magpie, and having the courage to protect your nest. Either way,